At 78, Elton John has finally broken his decades-long silence about Princess Diana, revealing a side of their relationship the world has never truly seen. For years, whispers swirled about their bond, private conversations, secret laughter, and shared moments hidden from the public eye. Now, Elton opens a door to memories of love, vulnerability, and truths he has fiercely protected. His words challenge everything we thought we knew about their friendship. But what is the story he has carried all these years, only now willing to share? It all began with a night of elegance, excitement, and unexpected connection. The year was 1981, and Windsor Castle shimmered with chandeliers and the soft clink of champagne glasses. The occasion, Prince Andrew's 21st birthday. The grand ballroom was alive with laughter, gossip, and history in the making. Among the glittering crowd, Elton John, a musical icon already accustomed to royal events, stood apart, feeling both out of place and under scrutiny. On this night, he had traded his flamboyant stage persona for a simple suit, blending into a world that demanded perfection, poise, and protocol. Music flowed from his fingers across the piano keys, elegant, restrained, and yet tinged with his signature artistry. And yet, beneath the surface, Elton felt a familiar pang of isolation, a reminder that fame could bring admiration but not belonging. Then she arrived. Diana Spencer, still a young nursery school assistant, glided into the room with a grace that belied the shy persona the world would soon know. Her eyes sparkled as she acknowledged the guests, but when they met Elton's gaze, something shifted. A warmth crossed her face, and with it, the tension he carried melted away. What followed was a conversation surprisingly natural and filled with laughter. They teased the stiff classical music, exchanged playful banter, and, in a spontaneous burst of joy, began miming the Charleston right there in the center of the ballroom. Guests paused, amused. Even the Queen allowed herself a subtle, knowing smile. It was a rare, unscripted moment, a rebellion against the rigid expectations of royal life. Elton later reflected that Diana had a remarkable gift, the ability to make anyone feel truly seen. In her presence, he could finally be himself. For Diana, weeks away from becoming the Princess of Wales, it was a rare relief, a fleeting sense of freedom before the storm of scrutiny that awaited her. Both were outsiders in their own ways. He, a flamboyant performer under constant public gaze. She, a young woman about to lose the privacy that had defined her. From that night, their friendship quietly blossomed. Letters were exchanged, conversations lingered, and moments of shared laughter became a sanctuary. Diana cherished someone who saw her as Diana, not as a title. Elton, in turn, found solace in her empathy and understanding when fame felt suffocating. While the world saw Diana through glossy photographs and orchestrated appearances, only a few knew the comfort she drew from these private exchanges. Through the years, their bond weathered trials, marriage scandals, relentless media scrutiny, and Elton's own personal struggles. Their connection, though sometimes distant, always resurfaced, rooted in trust, empathy, and mutual understanding. Rumors suggested Diana leaned on Elton for counsel more than anyone knew, while Elton found quiet strength in her companionship during times of crisis. Then tragedy struck in August 1997. Diana's death sent shockwaves worldwide, and Elton's grief was deeply personal. His performance at her funeral transcended music. It was a farewell from a friend, a tribute to shared laughter, confidences, and unwavering support that the world could never witness. Decades later, their friendship continues to resonate not for scandal, but for its humanity. It reminds us that true connection is built not on titles or ceremonies, but on moments of shared joy and empathy. That night at Windsor Castle, the Charleston, and the ballroom, the laughter echoing off gilded walls was more than a memory. It was the beginning of a bond strong enough to endure fame, heartbreak, and tragedy. In a world obsessed with appearances and protocol, the friendship between Diana and Elton John stands as a testament. Sometimes, the most enduring legacies are not chronicled in history books, but quietly etched in the hearts of those who truly see us when the world only sees the applause. What hidden struggles and unspoken bonds shaped Diana's life behind the royal spotlight? Elton John has finally lifted the veil on their remarkable connection. Even in a room filled with applause and laughter, Diana often carried an invisible weight. Cameras flashed relentlessly, and every gesture was dissected by a world that rarely paused to consider the human behind the crown. Beneath her carefully maintained smiles lay exhaustion few could imagine. Amidst the chaos of royalty and celebrity, one friendship endured, built not on protocol, image, or expectation, but on honesty, understanding, and shared vulnerability. From the mid-1980s onward, their paths seemed destined to cross repeatedly. Public appearances, gala dinners, concerts, charity events always showcased a flawless facade. Smiles, handshakes, and seamless camaraderie. But behind the polished veneer existed a private world where titles and fame meant little. Elton saw what few could. Beneath the stage lights and sequins, he recognized a woman who was complex, sensitive, playful, and at times fearful. Diana, in turn, recognized a kindred spirit in Elton, a man navigating relentless scrutiny, battling addiction, self-doubt, and the constant weight of judgment. Their mutual understanding grew quietly, an unspoken trust delicate yet unbreakable. Their bond deepened through acts of courage and subtle rebellion. At a time when AIDS carried stigma and fear, Diana fearlessly attended Elton's charity events, shaking hands, offering embraces, and defying whispers of scandal. She changed everything, Elton later said. One smile, one act of bravery, and the world's perception shifted. Diana's fearlessness drew him in, a princess unafraid to defy convention, to prioritize humanity over protocol. And in Elton, she found someone who didn't judge a person, who looked beyond the crown and titles into her heart. Even amid the gravitas of their worlds, joy found its way into their friendship. Diana's mischievous humor perfectly complemented Elton's flamboyant antics. She teased him mercilessly over his extravagant outfits, while he admired her ability to bend royal stiffness into effortless charm. Private gatherings became playful arenas, where etiquette bowed to spontaneity and laughter reigned. Yet chaos was never far behind. Elton recalled a private dinner in London that nearly erupted into a fistfight between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone, each captivated by Diana's presence. She had a rare ability to enchant the powerful, the famous, and even the arrogant without trying, leaving the world trailing behind her charm. But beneath the laughter simmered struggles. Diana's private battles with bulimia, sleepless nights, and crushing loneliness remained invisible to the public. Elton became her confidant, a safe harbor in the storm of relentless scrutiny. Late-night conversations, impromptu dinners, and stolen moments away from cameras offered both of them refuge, a place where vulnerability could exist without judgment. By the early 1990s, their friendship had settled into a rhythm almost like that of siblings. Teasing, supporting, arguing, and relying on one another in ways the world could never comprehend. Yet palace intrigue and fame were unyielding forces. Exhaustion, miscommunication, and pride occasionally threatened their closeness. One confrontation, remembered vividly by both, nearly ended their bond, a reminder that even the strongest friendships demand patience, understanding, and care, particularly under public pressure. Still, the bond endured beyond stage photographs, public smiles, and dazzling events. Diana and Elton's friendship became a testament to the enduring power of human connection. Compassion, trust, and honesty thrived even in the harshest scrutiny. Though the public never witnessed their late-night chats, quiet laughter, or whispered reassurances, those who knew the truth understood the extraordinary nature of their relationship. It was a friendship that bridged two worlds, royalty and celebrity, duty and art. In a life dominated by expectation and spectacle, Diana and Elton found a rare solace in one another's presence, a private rebellion against a world determined to consume them. Their connection was unforgettable, a rare light in lives shadowed by pressure, a bond that echoed in memory, music, and the heart. But what happened when the world began looking closer? By the mid-1990s, even this private sanctuary faced strain. The bond between Diana and Elton, once celebrated for its joy and intimacy, began to fray under the relentless glare of public scrutiny, palace intrigue, and personal challenges. Even the strongest bonds can face fractures no one sees coming. For Diana and Elton, that test came unexpectedly, through a project close to Elton's heart. He was creating a coffee table book of rock photography, a visual celebration of musicians, performers, and artists with all proceeds dedicated to AIDS foundations. Diana, always a champion for causes that mattered, had agreed to write the foreword. Her involvement was more than ceremonial. It was a statement, a way to confront stigma and humanize a disease still shrouded in fear and misunderstanding. For Elton, it felt like a collaboration of kindred hearts, not just fame. Then the letter arrived. Polite, formal, and yet distant. Diana explained she could no longer participate. The reason? Royal advisors at Buckingham Palace objected to the book's inclusion of semi-nude male models, deeming it inappropriate for a member of the royal family. For Elton, it was more than professional setback. It was a personal blow. A friend he had laughed with, confided in, and trusted implicitly now seemed to step back, constrained by pressures beyond her control. Hurt and bewildered, Elton reached out. Diana's response was polite, but sharp, final. Silence followed, stretching for months, heavy and suffocating. The timing could not have been worse. Diana's divorce from Prince Charles had been finalized in August 1996, leaving her to navigate a world that intruded relentlessly on every aspect of her life. Press scrutiny was unyielding, palace support scarce, and true autonomy hard to claim. The freedom she once felt now seemed distant, even perilous. Elton, meanwhile, wrestled with his own questions. Had Diana grown weary of obligations and expectations, or were the pressures surrounding her simply too great to resist? Pride and circumstance prevented either from bridging the gap. Months of silence passed, each carrying the weight of unspoken hurt. Elton buried himself in his charity work, dedicating himself to causes they both had championed. Diana, determined to carve her own path, threw herself into humanitarian efforts, hospital visits, and public advocacy. Yet the connection that had once been effortless, a lifeline of private letters, late-night phone calls, and shared laughter, had become a canyon of misunderstanding. The comfort, guidance, and companionship they had once relied on were gone, replaced by absence and quiet sorrow. As 1997 approached, the shadow of tragedy loomed ever larger. Both Diana and Elton felt the fragility of life with acute awareness. The unresolved ache of friendship left suspended in silence weighed heavily, a grief unseen by the world. Behind every public smile, every orchestrated charity appearance, they each carried the private sorrow of a bond interrupted. Their friendship, once luminous and inseparable, had been fractured by circumstance, expectation, and unspoken pressures. Yet even in that distance, memory and respect endured. The lessons of 1996 were clear. Loyalty is tested not only by circumstance, but by the courage to hold on, even when silence and misunderstanding threaten to pull everything apart. Though the world never saw the private pain, Elton and Diana's connection remained etched in light and lost a testament to fragility and beauty of human friendship. Even as their paths diverged, the echoes of what they shared lingered, a reminder that true connection is precious, luminous, and heartbreakingly brief. Elton John sang not as a performer, but as a mourner. For 4 minutes, the world was watching me, he later reflected. But it wasn't about me, it was about her. The song Candle in the Wind 1997 became the best-selling single in history, selling over 33 million copies. Yet for Elton, it was never about success or recognition. He often asked in interviews, why would anyone want to listen to it? It wasn't a celebration. It was a wound, a grief that could not be packaged or performed. 1997 marked a farewell to a friend, a confidant, and a light the world had lost far too soon. Behind the public mourning lay private memories. Diana's extraordinary empathy, her courage in facing tragedy, and her remarkable ability to bring people together. These weren't recorded in tabloids, but they lived on in the hearts of those who truly knew her. In fleeting moments across Milan, Paris, and London, her spirit remained vivid, alive in humor, tenderness, and human connection. Elton's grief stretched across continents, yet was intensely personal, a testament to a bond that transcended titles, fame, and even death. Diana had walked among royalty, yet she lived for connection. In her final months, navigating love, loss, and relentless public scrutiny, she leaned on friends like Elton, creating moments of levity and grace amid chaos. Images of their laughter, such as at Versace's funeral, and Elton's trembling performance in Westminster Abbey, capture a friendship that death could not erase. In a world consumed by headlines, Diana and Elton's story reminds us that some bonds are timeless, some grief unfathomable, and some acts of love be it a shared joke, a comforting touch, or a song echo far beyond the moment. Whispers of music and laughter once floated quietly through Kensington Palace, telling a story the world never fully witnessed. A princess and a rock star, bound not by protocol or titles, but by loneliness, honesty, and the rarest kind of trust. Elton never considered himself royalty, yet he became protector for one of the most famous women in the world. Diana, with a charm that lit every room, also carried vulnerabilities few could bear to witness. Their friendship, born in the late 1980s, thrived on that vulnerability. In a world where cameras documented every step, Elton offered her something rare, genuine companionship, free from expectation, free from judgment. Together, they shared laughter no palace walls could contain, and in his presence, Diana allowed herself to be fully human, crying, swearing, or simply existing without performance. By April 1995, their bond had grown deeper than the public could imagine. Diana confided in Elton about the pressures of her life, the impossible standards, the palace rules, the scrutiny that governed even her moments of joy. She spoke of her sons, her charity work, and dreams that often felt out of reach. Elton listened, sometimes with humor, sometimes with silence. These conversations were rare glimpses into a world where Diana didn't have to perform. Even after her life became dominated by the glare of public attention, their connection endured. Elton admitted that their relationship, though brief, haunted him for years. Pride and missed opportunities left unspoken words. Calls never returned. "If I could go back," he confessed, "I would have picked up the phone. Life's too short for pride." Their bond extended beyond Diana to her sons. Prince Harry, enduring pressures Diana had once faced, found in Elton a quiet guardian. Private dinners, guidance, and steady presence offered more than friendship. It was survival. Elton's dedication reflected not just affection, but an enduring responsibility to the woman who had changed his life. Diana's influence transformed Elton too, inspiring him to channel compassion into humanitarian work and AIDS advocacy. Though she passed in 1997, the echoes of her laughter and courage shaped him. When Elton plays the piano today, there's always a moment that belongs to her, a whisper of memory, joy, and authenticity. Their connection, defined by trust, laughter, and understanding, was never conventional or meant for headlines, yet it left an enduring mark. Diana taught the world that honesty could shine brighter than crowns, and Elton, through unwavering loyalty, honored that lesson. Even now, amid tabloid obsession and celebrity fascination, their bond remains a quiet testament. Destiny, or two kindred souls meeting amid chaos. It doesn't matter. Their friendship was a candle in the darkness, and though Diana is gone, that flame endures, reminding us that real connections, rare and unpolished, can withstand the relentless gaze of the world. Elton still carries her memory of private, living tribute to laughter, truth, and a friendship that allowed a princess to simply be herself. Through music, compassion, and shared humanity, Diana's legacy continues. True influence, it seems, is measured not by power or protocol, but by love, care, and moments that echo long after the world moves on. So, what do you think about Elton John and Princess Diana's extraordinary connection? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories behind the world's most unforgettable friendships.